All right, Hexagram 6. And if you're listening to this for the first time, I started creating these because there was no audiobook. And I wanted to add my own contemplations to these as well as this has evolved. And I encourage you to start your own relationship with this wisdom between the pages. And any interpretation that I have is purely my own. And you need to make your own discernment about, well, is that is what I'm saying for you? Is it truth for you? Or is it not truth for you? And you need to come to that conclusion on your own. So here we go. 6, conflict. The judgment. Conflict, you are sincere and are being obstructed. A cautious halt halfway brings good fortune. Going through to the end brings misfortune. It furthers one to see the great man. It does not further one to cross the great water. All conflict, the sage demonstrates in this hexagram, has its origin in an inner conflict in the psyche. Inner conflict originates in mistaken ideas and images that contradict our inner truth. Everything that is in conflict with inner truth is also in conflict with the cosmos. Conflict is the result of mistaken ideas and beliefs that separate us from the cosmic whole. The person to whom this hexagram applies may be experiencing a fate brought about by his engaging in conflict. The phrase, "you are sincere and are being obstructed," refers to his thinking that he is in the right. This prevents him from recognizing that the causes of his problems lie in mistaken ideas he holds to be true. Among them is his human-centered view of the universe, which gives him the false impression that he has the right to think and say anything he likes and to do whatever he thinks is correct. These presumptions, in turn, lead him to disregard the evil effects of thoughts and actions that come from this human-centered view. A cautious halt halfway can be telling the person consulting the oracle to retreat from questioning further. Because of his state of inner conflict, he will not be able to perceive the true answer to his problem, even if the sage offers it, because the ego is dominating him, looking for an answer that satisfies its inner demands for a culprit to blame. In the face of his attitude, the sage has retreated until his false enthusiasm burns out, or until he returns to modesty and an open mind. A part of his inner conflict lies in the self-flattery promoted by the ego that he is in the right and that others are guilty. The words guilt and culprit are the creation of the collective ego in its efforts to find a scapegoat for problems caused by its inept handling of situations. The person does not see that the evil consequences he experiences are the direct result of allowing the ego to rule his personality. In the cosmic sense, there is no guilt and no culprit, as evil does not inhere in a person's nature, but is the result of mistaken ideas and beliefs a person has accepted as true. Evil is created by the projections, spells, and poison arrows these mistaken ideas have put on the person's true nature, causing him to act in ways that are not true to himself. Going through to the end brings misfortune refers to allowing the ego to continue trying to force a conclusion to the conflict through argument and blaming. Doing so only creates another fate, which is the misfortune mentioned. A person caught in conflict is caught in a spell set up by the ego's demand to have things turn out its way. The cosmos does not respond to the ego or to this totally human centered view of things. When a person is caught in this frame of mind, he will accept no reasonable or common sense argument. It furthers one to see the great man is counsel for the person to ask the sage for help to find the inner truth of the matter. It will tell him which projections, spells, and poison arrows have created his fate. Thus, give him the information he needs to free himself from it. It does not further one to cross the great water, can refer to attempts of the ego to force a conclusion between two mistaken ideas by believing that one of them must be right. Adopting one or of two false alternatives only entangles the person more and more in conflict with the cosmos. Spells connected with this hexagram contain the words culprit or guilty party. Whether these terms are assigned to another person, life, nature, God, as in giving one an adverse fate, the ego, the cosmos, etc. Other spells are created by the mistaken idea that life is a struggle. Conflict is to be expected. Conflict is a natural part of life. We are born into a hostile universe, and humans are necessarily in conflict with nature. The lines. Line 1. If one does not perpetuate the affair, there is a little gossip. In the end, good fortune comes. This line concerns a person who has created a fate through having lost his modesty by thinking that the universe revolves around his interests and that he is special over other things. Just going to highlight that. Great. As a consequence, he blames things outside himself when things go wrong, such as fate, life, a godhead, another person, karma, etc. Therefore, has an inner argumentative attitude toward the cosmos. He sees it as there for his purpose, but not performing its duties toward him. On the one hand, he intuits that there are helpers there for him, but he does not understand that they can only cooperate as his equals. If he will rid himself of his arrogant attitude through rejecting it with the inner no, the help that he seeks will come to him. Just want to highlight that one. Withdrawal from inner conflict requires relinquishing the demand of the ego for a resolution to its arguments. Certainly, the ego will want to continue arguing the meaning of a little gossip, but in the face of persistent firmness, it will be unable to do so. See page 539, Retreating from Conflict and Opposition. It's a great one. I'll do a video on that. Or just buy the book. The good fortune that comes from saying the inner no to the ego is the insight and help that then come from the helpers. They show the person that the powers of the ego are limited, whereas before he had thought it to be unconquerable. The helpers will also help free him from his fate if he will rid himself of the mistaken idea that he can resolve things by engaging in conflict. Correcting himself will unite him with the cosmic whole and bring him peace and harmony. See page 531, The Inner No, and page 540, Freeing Yourself from Mistaken Ideas and Beliefs. Line 2. One cannot engage in conflict. One returns home, gives way. The people of his town 300 households remain free of guilt. This line refers to a person's engaging in conflict and trying to force his way. Since conflict is not the way of the cosmos, he cannot succeed. If he will retreat from conflict by returning to his inner truth, his inner home, the problem will lose its energy, enabling the helpers to resolve it. The people of his town refers to all the people with whom he is inwardly connected, who will be freed from the embarrassment and false sense of guilt that would be created by his continuing the conflict. Let me say that again. The people of his town refer to all the people with whom he is inwardly connected, who will be freed from the embarrassment and false sense of guilt that would be created by his continuing the conflict. Through this line, the I Ching wants to draw attention to the role of guilt and blame as the main motors that keep the demonic sphere of consciousness in place. Guilt, when projected upon another by calling him the guilty party, puts a spell on that person. It then activates the ego to project blame back. This blaming activity, if not stopped by saying the inner no to the idea of there being a guilty party, continues through generations and generations, the 300 households, thereby nourishing the demonic sphere of consciousness. This line signifies that a person needs to put the conflict to an end, no matter whether he is the one blaming another or whether he is on the receiving end of a blame spell. Line 3. To nourish oneself on ancient virtue induces perseverance. Danger. In the end, good fortune comes. If by chance you are in the service of a king, seek not works. To nourish oneself on ancient virtue is a concept by which the collective ego appropriates a person's natural virtues and turns them to its service. The king here is a reference to the collective ego as the feudal authority. By turning the person's virtues to its use, an inner conflict is created. This appropriation occurs when a person's natural loyalty to his inner truth is turned to loyalty to the institutions of the collective ego, as expressed in my country, right or wrong. Danger refers to the fate created by acting from false loyalties. The collective ego also suggests that ancient virtue nourishes a person's higher nature, whereas it only nourishes the collective ego's parallel reality. The cosmic meaning of this line refers to serving one's inner truth, thereby also the sage and the cosmic whole. In this instance, ancient virtues refer to a person's natural virtues, which in his very nature since before he was born into this dimension. They are the source of his inner nourishment when he doubts, they are the source of his inner nourishment when he does not hold them in doubt. By following them, he remains free of conflict. Seek not works warns him against striving for fame and recognition. The attainment of fame, social recognition, and its attendant flatteries can soon turn him away from his true self, putting him in self-conflict. Seek not works also states the principle that the person who is true to himself does not need to prove anything to anyone. I'm going to highlight that bad boy. Come back to that in my reflections. Spells connected with this line have to do with striving to be recognized as the good person, the modest person, the noble-hearted person, the spiritual person, or the hero who saves and helps others. Striving to fulfill self-images of any kind is in conflict with a person's true nature. we'll just have to put a note in here. Line 4. One cannot engage in a conflict without creating a fate. One turns back, changes one's attitude, and finds peace in perseverance, good fortune. Receiving this line indicates that a person is experiencing a fate brought about by his engaging either in inner or outer conflict. It is the purpose of fate to make a person end his engaging in conflict. However, if he fails to realize this purpose of fate and instead blames fate as if it were coming from something outside himself, such as the stars, the times, life, or the evil in others, he will continue to engage in conflict and create even more fate for himself. One turns back is a stern warning that to avoid even worse consequences, he needs to turn back now. Changing his attitude refers to recognizing that his actions have been ego dominated and that it is time to rid himself of the mistaken ideas that have supported his engaging in conflict. To find peace refers to ending the gnawing of his conscience when he has created a fate. This gnawing comes from an inner helper that is trying to make him aware of the fate created by going against his inner truth. So I'm going to say that again. This gnawing comes from an inner helper that is trying to make him aware of the fate created by going against his inner truth. Finding peace also means that he can rid himself of the blame connected with his deeds and thus end the fate. Just need to highlight that bit there. Great. The two mistaken ideas that initiate conflict are the idea of special ownership and the idea of having the right to it. Receiving this line may be calling a person to rid himself of these ideas as defined by the collective ego. From the cosmic point of view, everything we possess is truly ours only when it has come to us from the helpers to support us in fulfilling our life's destiny. When we no longer recognize that what comes to us, even though it comes through our efforts, is nevertheless a free gift of the cosmos, we allow the ego to appropriate it. Then what we possess becomes stolen goods and subject to being lost. Appropriation happens when we believe we have deserved the gift and when we think we have sole rights over it. I'll highlight that one. What we possess as gifts of the cosmos comes with the needed cosmic protection from being falsely appropriated by someone else, so long as we are in harmony with the cosmos. If we try to personally protect what we possess, the helpers of protection retreat. The mistaken idea about having rights over the things comes from the human centered view of the universe and the ego's wanting to hold on to what it has falsely appropriated. Appropriation also occurs when a person lives in luxury at somebody else's expense. It's a huge one. The good fortune indicated by this line are those possessions the helpers gives gives to the person who has a correct view toward possessions. They include insights, help to achieve his task, and possessions in the most literal sense. Line 5. To contend before him brings supreme good fortune. To contend before him refers to turning a conflict over to the sage. This line tells a person that while he is in a state of conflict, he will not be able to understand the sage's answers because they will be all interpreted within the framework of that conflict. He needs to turn his inner eye away from the problem altogether. A person also receives this line when he is caught in considering two arguments that seem to be reasonable alternatives. However, both are false. The true answer lies in another direction altogether, which he can only find by asking the sage for help. For example, a person experiencing a fate may be debating whether to accept his fate or to fight it. Neither of these ideas is based on a true understanding of fate. See page 32, Fate. Fate can be ended at any time by deprogramming the mistaken idea or belief that has created it. Line 6. Even if by chance a leather belt is bestowed on one, by the end of the morning it will have been snatched away 3 times. This line, line 6, shows what happens when a person carries a conflict to its bitter end. His apparent victory is lost 100 times over through losing the things he really values: his dignity, his self esteem, his inner peace, and his contact with the sage and the helpers. What he initiates, instead, is a long lasting fallout from the inner war and a procession of invisible projections, spells, and poison arrows that remain in his psyche until such time as he discovers and removes them. In addition, he initiates a fate that corresponds to the degree of his arrogance and obstinacy. All right, my reflections. You can choose to hang around for this, or you can bounce. Appropriation also occurs when a person lives in luxury at someone else's expense. So, how this applied to me, I needed to question my pricing. Oh, right ear just started ringing chronic. Okay, so what showed up here in my business in particular, and when you start a business or a coaching business that where you can set your own prices, what can show up is you should charge whatever you want to charge, because your worth is important. You know, if your worth is this much, you should need to charge that much. And I know in the beginning for me, like I was really undercharging in my work, right? Like I think I've mentioned this before in other podcasts, is that my first package I sold for $3,000 for 12 months, and the person ended up wanting a refund at the end of it. This is before I got mentorship. After that, I started designing packages, and then my first price was like 18,000 US for 6 months. And I think I sold 3 of those. But then after that, I was like, this isn't working anymore. Something's off. Like I got these gifts, I got these things. There's something more here. And then today in my pricing, like I have a threshold of what I'll hit at, but then I also listen to my feelings about what I should be charging for the other person. Like sometimes I'll say, well, what works for you? Like you tell me, like it's this price. I actually want to work with you. And for me, if I find someone that I want to work with, it's worth money to me. Like it's worth exchange to me because I enjoy working with the person. Right. So money can be a be all and end all obstacle for some people where it's like, oh, that's it. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. Right. So cool. You throw the baby out with the bathwater instead of having a conversation. And this shows up in relationships too. Instead of being in the conflict, right, you run. You don't be with it. You run away from it instead of, oh, hey, what's a conversation, I'm going to try to start saying the inner no to that now, now that I've mentioned that. Also, living at somebody else's expense, like having this hard line of, nah, it's this is what it costs, and I don't care if you can't afford food. Sell your house, sell your car, sell whatever. And sometimes you need to do that. I know for me, I sold my car. And I needed to listen to my feelings. Clarity comes from thinking and feeling. Do I need to keep this car anymore? Oh, like I had this when I was 26. I bought it cash. Like it was part of my self-image of this guy that could buy a black car, and it was a really cool car, and I could buy a car cash. That doesn't serve me anymore as an image. Great, let's just sell it. Cool. Clarity, precision, alignment, right? And you'll see this globally, and you might get angry and blame the rich, right? Oh, they're living at our expense. 1%, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, cool. All right. Well, after you finish realizing that your ego's got a hold of all that injustice or whatever's there, just start saying no. Find the inner ground and start saying no to people living at your expense. All right. Watch and don't watch for a result. Okay. Take your inner eye off it. Go do something else. Go to a party. Go play some computer games. Go kick a ball. Go do something else. Right. Take your eye off it. Appropriation happens when we believe we have deserved the gift and when we think we have sole rights over it. Okay. And this shows up in the relationship space. I deserve a relationship. You deserve a relationship. You've done so much work on yourself. You deserve love. No, 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 no. There's nothing that you're deserved, right? It's given to you as a gift. My son is given to me as a gift. My relationship is given to me as a gift. My life is given to me as a gift. This computer, this microphone, legit gift for my brother. All right. So there's things that are given to you as a gift, and nothing we have sole rights over. So when I see someone insuring something over fear of not of losing it and trying to get some reimbursement, like I have a real issue with insurance because what am I insuring this for? What's this thing, right? So, and I think there's going to be a collective resetting of all of this, of appropriation, when we think because we've done all this hard work that there's an assumption that, well, it was actually completely outside of your inner truth, but you have all this wealth that you're attached to. Let's reset it. You have no rights over any of it, right? Unless it was given to you by the cosmos, and it can be taken away by the cosmos. This gnawing comes from an inner helper, okay? So to be aware of gnawing, you need to be aware of the body. You need to be aware of the body. What does the gnawing feel like in your body? Okay. And what you'll find is in moments of clarity, that same thing keeps on popping up, right? In your dreams, it'll pop up in your dreams. It'll pop up in your feeling body. These are your common sense alerting you to, hey, there's this thing that you need to have a look at. You need to be in inquiry about it, right? Be aware of your gnawing. Don't numb it with food. Don't numb it with distractions. Be in it. Take that moment to just ask for the cosmic help, the helper of insight, or whatever it is, help you, the sage. Don't ignore the gnawing. Striving to fulfill self-images of any kind is in conflict with a person's true nature. What is the note here? Oh, yeah, you like your father. Cool. So this relates to raising children, okay? And we may have experienced this too. And parents put so many spells on their children. Now I'm aware of this. Parents put so many spells on their children, including, oh, you do what I do. You're just like dad. You're just like mum. No, grandpa used to do that. Your dad's really good at playing instruments. You're going to be like your dad? You're going to be like your mum? You're going to be like your brother? No, none of those things. You're going to be you. Okay. So what happens is when you start implant these arrows or spells or programs, the child becomes like the other. Right? You install these spells. So just saying no, just don't speak. Just enjoy the moment. Just watch. Be in awe instead of having to label it, right? Speak when it's correct. Seek not works also states the principle that the person who is true to himself does not need to prove anything to anyone. And this creates someone who's in harmony with the cosmos. Right? You don't need to prove anything anymore. Show up as you are. There's no performance anymore. You don't need to wear a mask. And it's a felt sense. People can feel that when you don't need to prove anything. It's like, yeah, great. Go and buy the book. Work with me if you want to work with me. Don't work with me if you don't want to work with me. I don't need to convince anyone anymore. It's like, cool, this is what I do. This is the outcomes that I know I can get you, for example. What else is here? Rejecting it with the inner no, the help that seeks will come to him. Arrogance. Okay, cool. So I got this on the 30th of April, this key, line 1, right? And is this line 1 we're looking at right now? Yeah, line 1. Great. And I was going through some shit. It wasn't that long ago, right? So get this, okay. So cash flow wise, 5 days late on rent, couldn't pay my VA. I had my office space bill due. The first of the month, I get a lot of bills. And I was like, just in it. I'm like, yeah, cool. Like I can see that transfer to pay my rent. It's just you can't do it because there's no money in the account, like a scheduled transfer. It's like, cool, it was rejected, John. It was rejected, John. You're cool. I had my credit card over withdrawn, and I had penalties the bank was giving me on my expense account. It's like, cool, you've overdrawn. Here's $30. You've overdrawn again. Here you go. Here's another one, right? So I'm just in this thing, right, and wanted to try and fix it, right? Fix this thing, and like being able to say the inner no to it was really helpful, and also having my mentor to bounce this off, because I think, and I've mentioned this before in the other recordings, is that the sage and the helpers work through people, and you got to know what your inner truth feels like to know what that wisdom feels like when it's coming through a helper or it's somebody else's ego, like ego to ego, because the ego will want to defend itself, right? The ego will want to say, hey, no, John, you got to work harder, you got to push. It's like, nah, there's something else underneath this. There's something else underneath why this is happening, right? And the arrogance, right? The arrogance of thinking that I can do things on my own, and also the self-image that I need to have it all put together, that I have to be the protector and the provider at all times, and also the agreements that we make with things like for rent or for anything. It's like, great, cool, just let it all go. Let it go. Put it over to the invisible world. And it all worked out fine. Like the money eventually came. So, and I thanked the universe, and I thank the helpers, and I thank anybody that comes into my space to help, that contributes to me, to my life as a gift. Thinking that the universe revolves around his interests and that he is special over other things. That was really important. The timing for this hexagram was just a chef's kiss. My notes here. What is in conflict with my inner truth? Where do I think I am right? This human-centered view of the universe. Like you might hear right now, decentering is the next best thing. Decentering men, decentering this, decentering. Yeah, great, good on you. Like the human-centered view, decenter the human-centered view of the universe. Like we're not the center of the universe, right? The ego will convince you that we are. We're not. We're not. It's very deeply humbling to know that we aren't. It's deeply resetting. No more questioning. I'm looking for a culprit. So in that, it came through to me at the perfect time. Also, these sensations going through my body, like the hiccups and everything. This is the feelings. This is feelings coming through. Like, yeah, cool, I'm hiccuping, I'm this, I'm feeling a bit gassy, because this is part of the body doing what the body does to need to move through whatever the emoting that's coming from me expressing here. It's not just words, it's everything. It's all the sound. It's yawning, it's burping, it's everything. No more questioning. I'm looking for a culprit, right? I was asking the sage all the time for questions. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And the panic really starts to set in. But I was too in it. So I was like, cool, hey, John, stop asking me questions. You're not in the right space. Your arrogance is in the way. You think the universe is revolving around you. I was like, fuck. All right. Just be in it, you know? Self-flattery. I'm in the right and others are guilty, creating relationships that are false. Okay? Self-flattery. So now I should know better than this. Like other people's must help me. Like they signed a contract. They did this. They did that. Right? I'm the one that's helping the planet. I'm the right? And then with my online stuff, that Facebook and social media is perfect for bringing out the ego. Like, no, I'm the one that's in the right. I'm the one. Right? If it doesn't come from inner truth, it's most likely the ego. I'm looking for scapegoats via the collective ego. For example, it's the government, it's landlords, it's the bank, it's all these things, right? Just looking for things outside myself. Like as a consequence, he blames things outside himself when things go wrong, such as fate, Godhead, another person, karma, etc. Right? So I have an inner argument towards the cosmos. I'll be doing dishes. Fuck this, fuck that, me. Just being able to catch all of those with an inner no was really important. But I needed to go through the process. This is a handhold. It's like, John, yeah, feel that. Yeah, all the shadow will come up when you hit that whatever the bottom is for you. Yeah. Arguing and blaming like Cassie, my son, people, society, government. The strategy is to ego blame the ego. Right? Ego, blame the ego. The cosmos doesn't respond to ego. Then I went on to seeing retreating from conflict and opposition. I read it again. Just like any book that I read, I end up reading it again, whether it was the 5 personality patterns, the gene keys, anything. Just looking at my bookshelf here, whatever just stands out to me, I go back and read it. So important. So important. What else is here? That was important. Self-flattery, rigid. Again, to cross this over with the 5 personality patterns, all 5 have their own styles of dealing with conflict. Okay. So the leaving pattern person will just disappear, or they'll try and psychically damage you in some way, retaliate, argue with you, argue with them in their head. They get into the worry spin. The merging pattern person will be upset that they've upset you, so they'll try and merge with you and try and fix the issue conflict-wise. They'll try and merge with the collective and make excuses for it. Then the endurer will just avoid conflict altogether, and they'll just secretly seethe that something is off. They can be the rigids can be the endurers can be the most self-hating, self-righteous people. Huge gossipers too. And then the aggressive person will just be deftly, intently self-righteous. It's like, no, I know. Look at these. Look at on my example on this, and try and dominate their way through the conflict. I am right and you are wrong. And then the rigid will rule reference, and they'll hold back from what they really feel, right? Because to feel the feelings of them being wrong or you being right and them being wrong just brings up all of their trauma that, oh my God, I'm operating outside of what's appropriate. So in conflict, a person who's living by their true self, conflict can be messy, right? It's not articulated. It's not in this perfect parameters of whatever people assume conflict to be. Every person's going to have their own unique way to address conflict. You've got to learn that. That comes from being in a relationship and being in conflict in a relationship, whatever that looks like. And you'll know it. You'll feel it. And it all boils down to presence. How present can you be with what's going on? How much can you be in your breath? How much can you be alive here, right now, moving through life from one point to the next, one point to the now? It's in the breath. It's in the slowing right down. If this was useful to you, let me know. Throw it in the comments. Mad love. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.